Hey everyone, Snoo here. Hope you're having a good league start. Here's a day 3 update video for you on this CoC Poison DD Assassin bow build. This is the kind of content that I've been doing as of late. As you can see, we're comfortably in tier 17 now. I'll let you know what it took to reach this point, as the build is fully fleshed out as far as the guide is concerned. It started with Toxic Rain Trickster. I'll let you know my experience on that. And then getting that bow craft done was quite a task, but that is the defining item to finish the build. I'll let you know my feedback on the league mechanic, which of course is in the background footage as well. And then, oh yeah, about currency, of course. How I've been making my currency. I figured you guys might be curious on that as well. So the build humbly began as a Toxic Rain Trickster. I went with that skill gem, not because it's a super S tier or anything. It's an A tier leveling skill gem, but it happened to have a very nice feel to it. Similar combat feel as CoC Detonate Dead. That was the first Divine Orb drop of the league. I've actually only dropped 2 so far, but this was me just transitioning prior to it anyway, with some Exarch altar farming, unlocking the Atlas in maps. In case you're curious about the performance level of Toxic Rain in the end game, I have experience doing it a long time ago. It was a little hazy on it, wasn't exactly sure how it would go. So I endeavored to make a nice Toxic Rain League starter. This is the sort of damage that it had, scaling as a second Voidstone clear for Searing Exarch. Definitely wouldn't recommend taking the build much further than this. It was very capable of doing tier 16, easy tier 16 stuff. Even Legion Dunes, it would be okay, but for sure inferior to Elemental Hit of the Spectrum Warden leveling build, I would say. Still a nice way to transition into the next variant, which we'll get to right now. Many of you guys in the live stream chats have been asking me about the bowcraft, and so here's a quick rundown on that. It's pretty simple, but a little bit tricky to do. This league, I felt the best way to go about it would be to just purchase pre-6 linked spine bows off trade, because they're very cheap this league. Item level 75 plus is all it takes. Clean, no influence, and then I would Shaper Orb Slam them for whatever modifier it gave, and then it would use a triple Fossil Slam with a decent chance of hitting one of the 2 modifiers we wanted, either Cast on Crit or Power Charge on Crit Multi. Tier didn't matter here, because we'll just do that a few times over and then slam those 2 modifiers in the Recombinator to hope for the outcome we wanted. Here's the Recombinator in action. You can see we've got the desired modifier, 1 of each on each bow, and then slam them together. 25% chance of success is pretty good. Many of you hit this in the first try or 2. Happy for you, but I gotta say, I failed it 15 times in a row till I got it, so a bit of a slow start for me. That's okay. You get that part done, and then it's just a benchcraft. 3 additional modifiers. Fire gained is extra chaos, and damage over time. Here's the finished product on the bow I currently have, and while this is roughly a 5 to 15 Divine Orb craft this league, maybe cheaper actually, because again, just you essentially don't have to pay for 6 links this league. For me, it was well over that. It was probably about 25, maybe 30 Divines because of how horrendous my RNG was. 15 Recombinator fails, hitting the Fossil both modifiers at the same time, like half a dozen times, failing the annul every single time. And so I got absolutely brutalized by RNG here. It is going to happen, you know, to a select few of us. But yeah, for every person like me out there, somebody hit this bow without any problems at all on 1 Fossil Craft and 1 Annulment Orb. And so, you know, that's how it goes. Let's go over some of the rest of the gear. Most of the remaining gear is very cheap. This quiver, I mean, this didn't really cost anything, I don't think. A couple of Essence Slams, and that was basically done. Half the modifiers on here don't even matter. I just wanted a resistance, the global crit multi, and the life mod, and then be able to benchcraft something. There, the helmet, luxury roll for rarity. Fortunately, again, very cheap to get a base like this. I'm just going for 1 resistance. Getting the reservation efficiency modifier is a little bit expensive at the beginning, but yeah, just kind of fleshing out some of the resistances there, and most of the remaining is on this ring right here. This ring would be more expensive than the other 2 items I just showed, but again, just these are undesirable items for most people, especially on a base like this. It's pretty good. For me, either Vermilion or Opal, maybe Amethyst later on. We drop some Chaos resistance, but yeah, that you'd be surprised how cheap this was. Otherwise, crafting this, I think percent fire damage, fossils eventually is probably what, or not fossils, but essences, probably what I'll go for later on. And so those are the 3 big rare items. The rest of it is all uniques. We're getting almost permanent uptime on Adrenaline with these gloves. I talked about that tech in the build guide. Definitely need some form of elemental leech, and that's pretty hard to come by. A build like this. We'll get Doriani Lesson Cluster later on, but I'm probably going to go from this straight to Mage Blood. With that cluster as one giant leap. I like this belt for now, for the time being. Somebody commented earlier they wish this belt was a little more popular. It's a pretty cool idea, but most people don't think very highly of it. I felt like it was a perfect slot in for this build. Then we have my favorite, most underrated bow item in the game, Lionized Paws, allowing for pseudo 6-link, crazy strong curse package here in conjunction with Anathema, getting a Warlord's Mark. I have 1 additional curse there, so I have 4 curses. And absolutely love it, totally slaps. Able to get an additional max endurance charge that normally wouldn't with, you know, going crafted boots or a more expensive pair of unique boots. So props to off-meta players. We get to have some real treat items like this. Speaking of which, because Tanu Ahi is so cheap, probably be able to get a very easy corruption, like say Enfeeble. For a 5th curse, I could unlock that by anointing Overcharge. I think I'm going to test that a bit. Keep in mind, I did have to work on recovery a great deal, and that's why Hematophagy is here. That's because Blast Rain and Rain of Arrows have such small hits that you don't even come close to hitting the leech cap. And so having an anoint like this actually doubles my leech, at least from there. Not counting the leech from Detonate Dead, which is here as well. But all those combined gave a great deal of recovery. That's why the survivability looked the way it did in that opening showcase. So I'm going to test around. We'll see. Ungol's Harmony is an amulet used to help cap out poison crits and cast on crit. So it's super important to get that. The downside doesn't mean anything here for this build. Okay, I guess last major item on the list is Doppelganger Guise. This is the only item I feel like I've had good RNG on. So I bought this for 3 divines, perfectly rolled. The crit roll doesn't matter. At the time, it was early on, day 2, I think. And I hit this 6-link in like 100 fusings, maybe. It's the only real memorable good RNG moment I've had this league, outside of, you know, kind of expected good drops you get over time. And then we got the flasks here at Series Promise. While this is up, Leech is super, super good. While it is down, it's not so good. So kind of important while doing harder content to have at Series Promise flask up. Correlato Signature. I'm at 95% poison chance, I think, so it helps cap out poison, gives me a bunch of crit chance, and then drains life for the sake of Adrenaline and Onslaught. Uptime barely drains, so that's really nice. The leech, and it's just bouncing there. Again, that tech was pointed out in the build guide. Alchemist Jade Flask, got a gold flask. I was running a life flask here with bleed immunity for some time, but I figure I'd probably rather just get gold and die more often. That. So rarity gives you extra gold, and gold has been a little hard to come by this league with the whole merchant tab thing. I think everybody underestimated how much we'd be strapped for gold. Then we have the passive tree. I'll go ahead and just kind of scroll over here so you can see. Was able to get Basics of Pain combined with Overwhelming Malice on the medium, so I wasn't sure if it would be easy to get this combo, but again, not a super desirable cluster, so it was relatively cheap. I'm only level 92 right now. Normally I'd be like 96, 97, but because I'm doing kind of, well, very, very difficult tier 17 content, which we're about to get to on how I'm making currency, that has resulted in a few too many deaths to level. I'm progressing leveling now at the moment, however. So cutting a few corners on the passive tree relative to what that snapshot at level 95 represented. Slightly regret not just going ahead and leveling up to 95. It would have been pretty easy to do that, especially with the league mechanic. But you can see a lot of leech tech going on here, and, you know, a lot of crits, whole bunch of crit stuff, life, suppress cap. Actually getting both Overwhelming Malice with Basics of Pain. The cluster wasn't terribly difficult to purchase off trade. Currently not getting the poison deal damage faster. I got a point back there. I got a point back here for no corrupted blood immunity. That's because I already bought immunity pure talent here, so that was in the plan. But yeah, everything else looks basically as it should. Okay, on to the league mechanic. You can see I have the tree relatively fleshed out. I did a fortress map already. I think I failed the first couple ones. It's pretty hard, at least pre-patched. I heard they're going to patch this and make it easier to do, but eventually I got it, I think, on the 3rd try, getting all 24 rounds. And, you know, I got a few Foulborn uniques, got a few of those WOM currencies and whatnot, but You know, I gotta say, guys, for me, it has been extremely underwhelming as far as the actual currency earned through the league mechanic. I know there are people who jive with the whole Necropolis 2.0 crafting thing. It's not really for me. I do like, at least conceptually, the rework of Breach, making it more integrated with the crafting and like the quest and different versions of breaches. How the density is pretty crazy now. And so I'm absolutely liking that. I think I will see enjoyment in that more in the deeper end game, probably, when we get to real juicing. But as far as like day 1, day 2, day 3, earning currency through this guy right here, especially, I haven't got a single Divine Orb. I barely ever even get this currency item. And it's just been absolutely abysmal. Completely different than Merc League, where I was just getting showered with Chaos Orbs. I remember I was able to get a taming ring, purchase a taming ring, before I even finished my Atlas. That's how much currency I was getting through Merc League. Completely different this time around. Been much slower as far as earning currency through the league mechanic. Here's the first couple of graphs that I got at this point anyway. People really like this Heart of Flame one. Adds a lot of defense. And I think for the sake of this build, we're missing Shock. We get a lot of extra damage in there. This seems like a pretty good route to go. This little version of getting a little guy that runs around and shocks the ground, especially for beefy enemies. It's nice. I think it's like an extra 15% damage taken by enemies. All right, on to everybody's favorite topic, currency earning. What I've been doing to make currency. I skipped Legion Dunes completely. The league mechanic didn't offer me much in the way of that, so I just kind of brute force straight into tier 17 fortress boss farming immediately. And that worked out fine because the build could handle it. And this kind of build is actually pretty good at bossing. It so happens. It's delayed damage for clear. It's good at clear, but it's delayed damage. And it's pretty good for bossing. Definitely better than like what a conventional Elemental Hill Spectrum Warden would have been. However, Fortress boss farming wasn't very lucrative. Yoke of Suffering is not that good. No, it was okay. The fragments is introducing a new fragment into the pool, which is worthless. And so between Yoke not being worth much and that new fragment, it just didn't appeal to me very much. Which is why I jumped to my plan B, which is cluster farming. I'm level 84 cluster farming. I've talked about how you could do this super early. Last league, I got some intel that some people were cluster farming immediately, like day 2 of the league, and were making a killing doing it. I knew that the combination of asynchronous trade combined with cluster farming would just be absolutely heavenly. And so that is why I went with this. Been making tons and tons of sales. Here's the evidence for you. And look at that, even a 1C cluster. I don't mind. I would never, at this point, exit my map to do a 1C sale cluster. 1C, 126C, doesn't matter. All of them are the same in terms of the headache of sale. I simply dump it in the trade. It doesn't even cost me any gold. It costs them gold. And so this goes way off the sheet. There's like 10 times what you just saw here from a wide variety, as well as crafting clusters. That's also really good because a lot of cluster crafters have to actually farm for gold now, which they can do rotas and things, but it's still extra time consuming, and they may deviate from their plan of crafting clusters, which means anyone who drops their own clusters and crafts them because they don't have to spend the gold on it, probably making even more currency than normal doing that. And a third reason why asynchronous trading is really good for this strategy is because the maps are especially difficult, but because of how we're not bulk buying maps anymore, like nobody's setting up their tabs for that, you're buying them one at a time, you can just regex the map mods you want. And so later on after the fact, it kind of dawned on me that I could set up a super strict regex in the map pool. There's thousands of Abomination or maps or whatever. It doesn't have to be Abomination. And so I might as well just regex it up front with the map that I want to buy, because they all cost the same anyway. And so those 3 reasons, being able to trade conveniently without having to step out, even the cheap clusters easily, cost me no time whatsoever. Crafting clusters being especially good this league, and buying maps that are easy for the build has been such a godsend. So here's a little bit of gameplay on what this farm is. I level 84 clusters. Walk into a map, you get a whole bunch of delirium rewards. It showers you with I level 84 clusters, some of which are worth a lot, like a double tink like that. It's always lovely to see. So it front loads most of the currency that you're going to drop in the beginning of the map. So even if you were struggling a ton in Delirious Tier 17, you can still brute force this strategy. And that's kind of the theme of my league start. Getting very bad RNG as far as drops are concerned, no lucky drops. and just using an unorthodox intelligent farm to make a bunch of currency anyway. And yeah, it involved a lot of corpse running, especially in the beginning before I started regexing maps. But yeah, between asynchronous trade, super easy to buy maps. I'm spinning through maps very quickly because I'm not even doing the boss. The cluster liquidation, absolutely better than ever before. And I will link in the description of the video my previous version of this farm in 3.26, which is totally applicable to right now. So in case you guys want to see it, there it is. If you have any remaining questions, let me know in the comment section of the video. This build a lot of fun. I think I am going to take it pretty far. It looks like there will be a way to scale Unearthed Gem much further than Desecrate. And so I think we have a nice super endgame version of this build in the works. I haven't theory crafted it out yet, but stay tuned for that, okay? Thank you guys for watching. Here's your day 3 update. Hope your league starts going well. Let me know how it's going for you, and we'll see you in the next video.